All right. Thanks, Rishabh. So, good evening, everyone. I am Shailendra Marathe, and I am joined by Ankit today for this live YouTube live discussion. What we are going to talk about, the importance of numbers in finance, right? So, the finance is the game of numbers, so to say, right? So, Ankit, see, when we speak to when if somebody asks me, right, I want to be in finance or something like that, they express the interest. So, one of the things that I very frequently end up telling them is or asking them is, do you like numbers? Correct? Do you like to play with numbers? Do you like to quantify things? Right? So because if you are having a finance bent of mind, you will think that it's essential to quantify, right, and not leave something abstract, right? That is one of the key things. And then being passionate about numbers also means that probably having little bit of mathematical bend of mind, right? So ability to understand bit of mathematics and apply it in the context. So that has always been my, at least my perspective on that. If you look at most of the qualifications which are there, which are centered around finance, like CA, CFA, risk qualification like GARP, for example, it's very heavily loaded with finance, right? So you need to understand a lot of numbers and apply them to a specific context. So that has been my perspective, and I very clearly tell that to the students. So do examine, do you have this liking or not? Otherwise, after a point in time, you will start feeling this is not the right field for me. So what has been your experience, and what do you think about that?
So whatever things you have said, that is absolutely correct. So mostly what finance people do, they do analysis of multiple things. So first of all, I would like to tell about stock market. So what finance analyst will be doing if he is choosing equity profile? Definitely he will be analyzing the stock market. And how we analyze the stock market? Definitely we play with numbers. We check the past performance of company. We check that how stocks of that any company was performing. We will be checking the financial statement of company, and we will be applying various mathematical formula to find out whether company how company is performing and how company will be performing in future with the help of multiple formulas, right? If I take a very scratch example, so what accountant do generally, accountant, they record transaction in books of accounts. So it means they will be recording only monetary transactions. So the first step in finance or accounting is recording of transaction. So they will be recording monetary transaction, and after that financial statements are going to be prepared. So specifically it is given that only they will be recording monetary transaction. Similarly, if I talk about other profiles, there are multiple profiles, credit analyst or n number of profiles are there. So we will be dealing with only numbers in finance in most of the cases. And what students do, they don't love mathematics, but still they jump into finance profile, which is very difficult for them to survive in finance. So what they do in future, they shift their profile from finance to marketing or some other domain. So definitely if you love numbers, then you will be able to achieve what you are trying to achieve in future. So I think finance is definitely important.
Absolutely. So so what are the key things? So when we talk about finance and we talk about numbers, it's a very vast field, right? So I
Yeah.
think you mentioned few examples by way of stock analysis, right? So some of the few things that, for example, I see being used, and when we sort of talk to students, these are fairly basic things in statistics and mathematics, but they are not well aware about that.
Yeah.
Right? The grasp is not there. I am not even going to talk about the standard deviation, the beta and the var calculation, and anything beyond that, right? The complex things. But even something as basic as understanding what is mean, right? What is median, what is mode, and specifically this difference, the frequency of observations, right? How the standard normal distribution curve is determined, right? So those are very very basic aspects, because if you don't know that, then you cannot build upon your analysis and use it in practice, right? So what is your experience with this? How these are being used in the world of finance, right? So mainly I'm focused on these basic statistical aspects of mean, median, mode, and frequency distribution, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So, sir, whenever we try to forecast the performance of any stock, so generally we use mean, mode, and median concept, right? So, what is mean actually? Mean, we are taking average of numbers. So, if I'm applying mean formula, so I will be taking the average of numbers, and after that, I will be calculating the standard deviation in beta. So, let's suppose if I talk about beginners, right? Those who are entering into, those who are taking entry into finance. So, at least they should know about mean, mode, median. If your concepts related to mean, mode, and median is not clear, definitely you won't be able to perform in future or in finance, you can say. Now, another very important concept is compounding and discounting. Compounding is applicable everywhere, whatever profile you are choosing. If you don't know the compounding formulas or how to apply the compounding, definitely you won't be able to survive in future. Now, if I talk about compounding, what students think that compounding is very difficult concept, right? I know that there are n number of variants of compounding: annual compounding, weekly compounding, monthly compounding, but this can be resolved by doing more and more practice. So compounding is the another most important concept that which students should know. And if students they are not able to perform in this compound, if they are not able to apply compounding formula, then I won't be suggesting that you should enter into this finance profile. Another important concept according to me is time value of money, or you can say discounting formula. So you should know that how to apply time value of money concept and what is the relevance of time value of money concept. So let's suppose if I'm valuing any company, so every year I will be applying present value concept, right? Every year I have to apply present value concept. So let's suppose we have seen that Zomato got value of 60,000 crore. How they have valued Zomato, how they have priced Zomato at 60,000 crore rupees. So first they have forecasted the revenue of Zomato, the profit of Zomato, and after that they have applied present value concept, and this is how they have calculated the value of Zomato, right? So here I think compounding, time value of money concept, and there are some few other concepts which every student should know before jumping into finance profile. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you just talk of something like mean, median, and mode, right? So if you want to understand, for example, what is average, correct? So
Yeah.
if we go to, and if you don't understand that basic, you cannot build upon it. For example, for
Definitely,
calculating a
sir.
calculation of beta or standard deviation, right?
Definitely,
Because it is
definitely.
basically you are calculating the. And I've asked this question many times to the students. Let's say there is a, we take a stock price and we take the returns, right? We calculate returns for last 1 year, right? The daily returns. And then if I subtract the daily return from the average of all, right? So what would be the answer? Correct? The answer is 0, because
Yeah.
you're taking the average of, let's say, 200 numbers,
Yeah.
and you are subtracting that average. So that level of clarity, is something which is required, and
Definitely, sir.
that is very conceptual and soundness in finance, which is required if you want to be an analyst or you want to be in finance, right? That is lacking. They may be able to, okay, fine, after you show, etc., they'll be able to understand, but that why will that be 0, right? That kind of a thing that doesn't come to their
Definitely.
mind. And same if we look at the frequency distribution, standard, normal, curve, etc. If we look at, let's say, calculation of value at risk, and at that time, if you look at z-score, so understanding the area under standard, normal distribution and z-score, etc., is something that they struggle with, right? So
Yeah.
what exactly are we signifying when we say this is the value at risk? So those concepts which are relatively simple to understand, but if you don't have clarity on those concepts, then that poses a challenge when you move into slightly more difficult, application oriented kind of concepts. And I think, as you correctly mentioned, discounting or the time value of money is the sort of very, very important thing in finance. Anybody in finance, understands time value of money very, very well, right? So for them to understand, for example, selection of the discounting rate, correct? So once you understand the time value of money, there may be different ways of looking at the discounting rate. Should it be opportunity cost, for example, right? Or should it be cost of capital, and why it should act as a hurdle rate, right? So unless you understand that concept very, very well, it is very difficult for you to select the right discounting rate as well, which I will say is little bit advanced topic, because
Advanced
that
topic.
it gets
Yeah.
into not just numbers, but it's like art and science coming together, right? So that is where it is. Yeah, so I think so the message, I think, for all the students would be, wait before you select your field. I think whether it is accounting or finance, even accountants deal with numbers in a very big way, right? Even preparation of basic balance sheet, P&L, and I think, let me mention, sometimes students fail to make, they are not able to understand how cash flow is generated, because that
Yeah.
the level of conceptual clarity on numbers is not there, right? So I think that is very important question you should ask to yourself. If I'm getting into a field of finance, do I, I have a passion for numbers? Do I like to talk in numbers, right? So if you like to talk in numbers, I think then slowly, you can apply your mind, you can learn the basic mathematical concepts, etc., and then you can be there, in the world of finance. If not, I think you need to explore something else. So typically
Definitely.
the 12th, many times, I have given advice to students who have done their 12th, they are from typically commerce, right? So they are thinking of something like CACS, right? So apart from other things, I tell them very, very, clearly, unless you like numbers, mathematics, don't go for
Should not
CA,
enter.
then go for CS. But again, there you need to like law, right? Because it's entirely about law, right? So you have to make up your mind, which side you are strong on, what is you are passionate about. A lot of students took that advice and they're happy about it. So
Definitely, sir.
that's how you have to be the clear.
And sir, after implementation of new accounting standard, now mostly we are using present value concept, or you can say compounding concepts in accounting also, right? So if you don't know these concepts, compounding or how to calculate present value, definitely you won't be able to perform in accounting even. Right. So I think numbers are the most important. And if you think that you will be able to play with the numbers, or if your plus, minus, subtraction, division part is very strong, because what students think that division and subtraction, addition part we will learn when we will enter into these courses, you won't be able to do it. The thing is that you should start practicing these things from beginning itself. So if you are practicing these things on regular basis, definitely you will be able to perform. So if you want to play with the numbers, it's like your brain should work all the time when you're seeing the numbers now. So addition, multiplication should regularly go in your brain, then you will be able to perform, that is for sure. Without numbers, it is impossible to perform in finance domain.
Absolutely. Great. So I think I hope we have explained this importance. Maybe at some other point, maybe next few weeks we'll take up which are those kind of financial or mathematical concepts that are very interlinked, and what students should focus on understanding. So thanks for joining today, Ankit, and I think let's sign off on this. Thank you very much.